you expect to have some exam this afternoon? Sorry, I didn't explain very well. So anytime you can take exam. I will send exam to Kenny, and he will, distribute it to you. So you can take anytime. You can take the exam when you will be convenient and submit it to Kenny, and he will send your exam to me. So I plan to make 16 hours course lecture, and you can take 1 hour, about 1 hour for midterm exam, and another 1 hour for final exam. And final exam also you can take it anytime when you will be convenient. So it will be the 18 hours courses program. So let's start. Let's continue to work on rice as a raw material for making sake. So this afternoon I may have cough because this morning I collected seed from many different types of pepper, including habanero and jalapeno. These are very tough. I didn't expect these are very tough pepper. So I have, pain all over my face and finger when I collected. I seed by using my hand without gloves. And since this morning, I have been very hot on my face and finger. So I may have some cough due to spiciness or capsaicin. Still, I washed my hand often, but still I have, pain on my face and finger due to maybe habanero and jalapeno. So you may have some difficulty to listen because of my pain on my throat and finger. So let's move on to my lecture. This is the last slide I showed you last week. The requirements for sake rice to make sake. So far, more than 100 rice varieties are recommended as the raw materials for sake. These varieties satisfy these requirements. For example, which has large shinpaku within rice grain. The center part of rice. Shinpaku is another word, white core. So this is one requirement for sake rice. And last week I explained that it shouldn't be very sticky after steaming. So this is another requirement for sake rice. The third requirement, sake rice have to have characters, fungi, koji fungi, easily penetrate, not only on the surface but also inside of rice. I can explain these characters later. And it must be dissolved easily by fungi. And final requirement, last requirement for sake rice, it have to be the low level of iron and low level of protein to make sake. I think I can explain, this character later. So last week I explained, in order to handle easily sake rice, it shouldn't be sticky after steaming. Okay, so this is a dissect schematic diagram showing dissect of rice grain. Here is a jam. So usually we take jam out and the shape of rice after. So this is the location jam used to be. This is a location jam used to be. This is a location jam used to be. So jam we will remove. And so we use this white part of rice. So we also take husk out and brown out by polishing. And we use end span for eating as a table rice or for making sake. And here is an area which is called shinpaku or white core that I mentioned earlier. So you may find, you can find some white part at the center of the rice grain here. And it has large shinpaku. This also has large shinpaku. This also has large shinpaku. So this has a small size shinpaku at the center part of the rice grain. You can see this is the shinpaku area. This has large shinpaku. This has also large shinpaku. So this is here is a shinpaku area here. So shinpaku is a white core or in which starch, carbohydrate accumulated very well. The outer part of rice grain has more protein and more lipid. Outer layer has more, outer layer means this area of rice grain has more protein, mineral, vitamins, and lipid. On the other hand, shinpaku area or center, a white core, has more starch. And starch is stored in tightly rolled as a tightly rolled ball. So at the center part of the rice has more carbohydrate. On the other hand, outer part of the rice grain has more lipid and protein, as well as minerals and vitamins. So this is a schematic diagram showing dissect of rice grain. So by polishing, we will discard husk, bran, and jam. Not only husk, bran, jam, but also we try to discard outer layer of end span, like protein, lipid. We try to discard by polishing. So this table shows two different varieties of rice. Right side of the slide showing table rice. One example of table rice called Nihonbare. Nihonbare is a name of variety, very popular rice variety for eating. On the left side of this slide showing the photo of Yamada Nishiki, which is the name of very famous sake rice. So two different variety. One is for sake rice, sake making. Another one is for eating as a table rice. So you can see clear Shinpaku area, white core area within the grain of Yamada Nishiki variety. This white part the carbohydrate accumulated very well. On the other hand, so this shows the dissect of Yamada Nishiki or Nihonbare. You can see not clear Shinpaku area found in Nihonbare variety for eating. So this is the one unique character for sake rice. Sake rice has clear Shinpaku area, but table rice does not have Shinpaku or white core. So this is a big difference between sake rice and table rice. And another character, another difference between these two varieties is the size of rice grain. So this number, 26.5 gram, is a weight of 1,000 grains of rice. On the other hand, 22.3 gram is a weight of 1,000 grains of Nihonbare table rice. So you can see 4 gram difference, 4.2 gram difference means 20% sake rice is heavier than table rice. 4.2 gram is about 20%. So in general, sake rice has large size of grain than table rice. So this is another difference between sake rice and table rice. And some other character, the difference. Sake rice, in general, is good for making koji. So koji fungi, Aspergillus oryzae, is the name of taxonomy of koji fungi, which need to be grown on the surface or inside of the rice. So in general, koji fungi can grow easily on sake rice. And also sake rice has high digestibility, and low protein content. So these conditions, these requirements are satisfied by sake rice. But these cannot be satisfied by table rice variety. These are difference, and also the requirement to be sake rice. This shows the Shinpaku area. These are rice grain. So GOM is the name of rice variety another rice variety for sake rice. YAM is Yamada Nishiki. So this is the YAM, Yamada Nishiki. And this is Niigata 72, is another sake rice variety. Local government of Niigata Prefecture developed this variety. And you can see Shinpaku area within rice grain, the white core called Shinpaku. It has a small, Niigata 72 has a small size of Shinpaku area. But some of them, grain, rice grain does not have much Shinpaku for Niigata 72. But YAM, this has the largest share for sake production in Japan. So this is the most popular rice variety for sake production. And GOM, 500万石, it has a long name. This is the second, this has the second largest share for making sake, GOM. And it also has large size of Shinpaku area, just like Yamada Nishiki YAM. So the most popular rice variety. And this had the second largest share for making sake. And this is a photo slide showing the polishing rate of rice. So this is 100% rice grain of 500万石 GOM and Yamada Nishiki YAM. Again, this is the most popular rice variety for making sake, YAM. And 500万石 GOM has the second largest share as raw materials for making sake. And this shows the polished rice grain. Usually, we can polish very well by using Yamada Nishiki YAM. So this shows 30% polishing rate of 30%. So just keep 30% center part of rice grain. So outer layer, 70% were discarded after polishing. So we can use only 30% of rice grain. So we can make very small size of polished rice by using Yamada Nishiki. So 500万石, we cannot make such a small size of rice grain by using 500万石. So 59%, so this photo shows. So we can keep 59% the center part of rice grain of Yamada Nishiki. So 41% of rice grain from outer layer was polished and discarded, and it will be utilized for livestock like a pig or cow. So they will eat outer layer of rice grain. And koshihikari, this is the very famous rice variety for eating as a table rice. So this cannot be polished very much. So this is the size of 100% rice grain of koshihikari, KOS rice variety as a table rice. So you can see the difference between Yamada Nishiki and 500万石. So 500万石, we cannot polish very well like Yamada Nishiki. When we polish more, and it will be decomposed, it will be broken. So this 59 is supposed to be the smallest rice size of rice grain we can make by 500万石. But Yamada Nishiki, we can polish more and more, 30%. Or some company succeeded to make only less than 10% of Yamada Nishiki, very small. So it means 90% of rice grain were polished and discarded from outer layer. But still, we can obtain this shape of rice. But by using 500万石, we cannot make such a small size of rice grain because of the character of each variety. So that is why Yamada Nishiki has the largest share. That is why 500万石 cannot catch up, cannot overcome the Yamada Nishiki. So Shinpaku area, it both has large size of Shinpaku area, 500万石 and Yamada Nishiki. But the problem is on 500万石, we cannot make very small size of rice grain. So this has more lipid and protein, remain. But Yamada Nishiki, 30% polished rate of Yamada Nishiki, this does not have much protein or lipid. So this has relatively pure carbohydrate, 30% size of Yamada Nishiki. Protein and lipid will make unpleasant taste. People believe. But still, lipid. Some people like sake made by rice with some protein and with some lipid. So we will discuss later, or taste or character of sake made by different variety or different polished rate of rice grain. So this slide shows the share of rice variety for making sake. Yamada Nishiki has largest share, more than 1/3, 37%. And 500万石 has the second largest share, about 20%. So by combining these two, about 60% of share. So these two variety occupy. And the Miyama Nishiki has the third largest share, 7%. MIY means Miyama Nishiki, which has a long name. And Omachi, OMC, has the fourth largest share. But still, it is not very much, only 3% of share. And Akita Komachi, 3%. And 2, So we have more than 100 variety, but most of them has very small share, less than 1%. So, 山田錦500万石 GOM、宮間錦 MIY、お町 OMC. These are played important role for making sake. So not many variety we need to recognize. 山田錦500万石 we can remember, we may remember these names. Otherwise, you can just ignore the name of variety. So this shows some character of Yamada Nishiki YAM. This was obtained at the center part of Japan called Hyogo Prefecture, next to Osaka and Kyoto. And in Hyogo Prefecture, Kobe is the capital city. And Kobe has a Nada area. You may remember that Nada used to be, or still Nada is one of the major city to make sake. And in Edo era, Nada used to be the port to ship sake from this area to Tokyo, Edo, which used to be, and still, which is the largest area to consume sake. And heat or pasteurization was developed, and we can transport stored sake in barrel from here to Edo, Tokyo area. And it has, as I explained earlier, it has some resistance against cracking. So we can, this is the reason why we can polish this grain, rice grain, very much. And due to this character, we can make very small size of rice grain, like a polishing rate of 30, 20, or even 10%. But 500万石 does not have much this character. That is why we cannot make very small size of rice grain by using 500万石, another rice variety. But Yamada Nishiki, we can make very small size of rice grain due to this character. And great water absorbency this variety has. So this is good. Koji fungi, Aspergillus oryzae, can digest starch very well to make sugar to support growth of yeast. And this variety has low level of protein. And size of grain, Yamada Nishiki, is very large. And high presence of shinpaku, white core, at the center part of rice grain, Yamada Nishiki has. And we can make sake with depth of flavor, soft and well-rounded texture. And sake has elegance and character of brightness. So people prefer these days. Nowadays people prefer sake produced by Yamada Nishiki. Especially ginjo sake. You may remember the word of ginjo mean the sake produced by small size of rice grain less than 60% rice grain when we use, and we can call ginjo sake. And when we use less than 50% of rice grain, and we can call sake as dai ginjo. So when we use this rice grain for making sake, and we can call dai ginjo sake because 30% is less than 50%. And when we use this size of rice grain for making sake, and we can call as ginjo sake. We cannot call sake this sake a dai ginjo because 59% is more than 50. But still 59% is less than 60. So we can call sake produced by this size of rice grain, we can call as ginjo sake. We will look at this, later, so you don't have to much worry about that, even you do not remember very much. You can just ignore this. So this shows the, family tree of rice variety for eating. Some variety 100 years ago or 150 years ago, people use, rice for eating. Like kameno is a name of rice variety. Shindiki, aikoku. So people make sake by using eating table rice variety 150 years ago. But since then, local government or national government breed rice variety and selected the rice variety to make sake. So this variety has been forgotten for a long time due to some problem. But these days some company try to make sake, revived sake by using a traditional rice variety. And we realized that sake produced by this old rice variety has excellent characters. So some people or some company try to revive the sake by using this table rice variety. So I may explain some character sometime later by using not very popular rice variety these days, but still this has excellent character for make unique sake. So this doesn't have much. So kameno variety. This is one of the variety, old variety for eating as a table rice. This has been isolated. This was isolated in 1893, year of 1893, for table rice, but it disappeared. Nobody remember. Nobody was interested in this variety in mid-20th century. But this was revived in 1983 by Kusumi Brewery and Koiwai Brewery. And they tried to make sake by using old rice variety called kameno. And these sake are now very popular. Some people really like sake produced by kameno. So kameno probably the share of kameno rice variety to make sake less than 0.001 or close to 0%, but still some people love the sake produced by kameno variety. So this is it will not make, it doesn't have any sound, I think. So you can take a look the kameno. Can you listen? Maybe Sekita. Sorry. Just this is a scene of Kusumi Brewery. This is the movie photo of Kusumi Brewery. So these are rice of kameno. It may have some problem. It easily falls down when it grows. So not easy to harvest, to be harvested. So people began to forget. People which has not been utilized for longer. But the Kusumi Brewery found unique character of kameno as a raw materials for making sake. So they succeeded to make unique sake by using old rice variety. You can skip. So this shows some comparison, difference between the character of 500万石, Miyama Nishiki, and Yamada Nishiki. Again, Yamada Nishiki has the largest share as the raw materials for sake. GOM has the second largest share as the raw materials for sake. The Miyama Nishiki has the third largest share as the raw materials for sake. So when we compare the harvesting period, so 500万石 we can harvest late August to early September. So it is a good variety because in Japan we have typhoon. We used to have a typhoon or hurricane late September through October or November. So when we grow 500万石 and we can save rice by the damage of typhoon. But this rice variety, we may have some damage by typhoon. Now this is the one of the example how to choose rice variety for each area. So slightly different. So transplanting, we usually transplant a small size of rice to the rice pod in April, May, June. So every area or a local area, local government recommend the certain rice variety to the farmer based on some character. And these are also very important character for each rice variety. This shows the shape or size of shinpaku, center core, white core, in the center part of rice grain. So it depends on. So people usually we prefer to use this one, and maybe this one. Dotted Shinpaku, white core, people do not like very much as for making sake. So these two, we can make small size of rice grain with relatively pure carbohydrate by polishing. So this is not very good. When we polish to make small size of rice grain, and rice grain easily decomposed, will be decomposed easily. So we cannot make small size of rice grain if rice grain has, white core distribution like this. So rice white core should be center part. And the size of white core have to be large. And Yamada Nishiki is rice variety, hard to decompose by polishing. And this shows the family tree of sake rice. Yamada Nishiki is here. YAM has the largest share. 500万石 has the second largest share. And Omachi, which has the fourth largest share as a sake rice. So Yamada Nishiki has some genetic background from Omachi. This is another old variety. And Miyama Nishiki with the third largest share. It's here. Kame no O, as I explained earlier, which used to be for eating, table rice. So Miyama Nishiki or 500万石 has genetic background from Kame no O. I showed short movie of the Kusumi Brewery. They produce very unique sake these days by using Kame no O, which has been forgotten for a long time. So some rice like 500万石, Miyama Nishiki has some genetic background. So this is because we can make good sake, 500万石 or Miyama Nishiki, because of the DNA of Kame no O. So as I explained earlier, the some grape variety played very important role, like Cabernet Franc. Their genetic background goes to the Cabernet Sauvignon. So again, so this supposed to be the Cabernet Franc in the field of rice for sake production. And this supposed to be the Cabernet Sauvignon or Merlot. So people try to breed to make better rice variety for making wine or sake, or maybe whiskey or beer. I am looking forward to studying about the variety of barley or wheat for making beer or whiskey. And Suntory, they will help us to make a new curriculum, new program for distilled alcohol beverage. So I'm looking forward to working with them. This shows the 4 major rice varieties Yamada Nishiki has the largest share. And second largest share, 500万石has. So it was originated in Niigata Prefecture, here, northern part of Japan. The third largest share, Miyama Nishiki has 500万石, second, third, Miyama Nishiki, which was originated from Nagano Prefecture. And the omachi originated in Okayama Prefecture. The share is not very large, about 4%, 3 or 4%, but still this has a character. Sake made by omachi has a unique character, and which has some character of traditional sake. So some people really like sake produced by omachi. So hopefully we can send the sake produced by omachi to your university for tasting later. So this, I can skip this slide. So this shows the relationship between polishing rate and the amount of relative amount of fat, lipid, mineral, protein, starch. So again, polished rate means if we call 70% polishing rate, means 30% from outer layer was polished and discarded. That's 100% of rice. This is the 35% of rice with by polished. And again, ginjo, when we want to put the name of ginjo on the label, we have to use the rice less than 60%. But if we use less than 50% of rice grain, and we can claim dai ginjo on the label. And this axis shows the polishing rate. Seimai buai means polishing rate. So if we make 90% same polishing rate, and we can discard 70% of fat and about 10% of protein we can discard. So we can eliminate 10% of protein and 70% of lipid by making 90% of polishing rate of rice grain. So it means outer layer of 10% has most of lipid, 70% of lipid localized in the 10% of the outer layer of rice grain. And when we make 80% of rice grain by polishing, most of fat we can discard. More than 90% of fat will be discarded by making 80% of rice. And protein, more than 20% of protein we can discard by making 80% of polishing rate of rice grain. And 60%. So ginjo style of sake by using 60% of rice grain, we can make sake with 60% of protein remains and 95% or sorry, 5% of fat remains. We can make dai ginjo sake by using rice grain. 60% of protein remains. 5% of fat lipid remain. So these days, as I told you earlier, 35%, 30% of rice grain, or even less than 10% of rice grain. So we can make dai ginjo sake by using less amount of protein and fat. So I try to arrange to ship some sake to you, so you can distinguish the difference of the taste of sake. So these are very popular these days, ginjo sake or dai ginjo style of sake. But still, some people really like sake by using, large size of rice grain. So sake has traditional taste. I can explain the difference of taste later. We can skip. So this is, I just remind you, you may not be familiar with this term, dai ginjo. Dai ginjo. Ginjo means this type of sake is made by less than 50% of rice grain. Dai ginjo. Dai ginjo. Ginjo, less than 60% of rice grain when we use, and we can put the name of ginjo on the label. And as I explained in last week, we can classify all sake with or without distilled alcohol. Without distilled alcohol. And we can put the word of junmai on the label on sake. Junmai, pure rice. Pure rice. And when we want to put the word of ginjo on the label of sake, we need to use small size of rice grain, less than 60% or less than 50% ginjo or dai ginjo. Dai means large or big, big ginjo or ginjo. So Kenny, can I make 5-minute break to continue to look at the case study performed in Fukushima Prefecture? They try to breed new rice variety, which will overcome the character of Gohyaku Mangoku to make new variety. So can I make 5-minute break?
Okay, Professor.
Okay.
No problem. Thank you, Professor.
Thank you.
Chicos, entonces tenemos 5 minutitos, nos estamos reencontrando a las 5:05. Professor, sorry,
Okay.
can you continue, please?
Okay, let's resume to.
Thank you, Professor.
Okay, you're welcome. So let's resume to work on rice, newly developed by Fukushima Prefecture. So most of local government try to develop their own unique rice variety. So the number of rice variety for making sake is now still growing, more than 100, but still every year new variety has been developed. And Fukunoka is the name of new variety developed by Fukushima Prefecture. Oops. And I try to explain some character of Fukunoka is a name of variety. In year of 2000, they developed new variety called Yumenoka. And they, start to grow, farmer start to grow by using seed provided by local government of Yumenoka. And the area increased very much because this has, Yumenoka variety has large shimpaku. So this is good. Not easy to fall. So they can stand very well. So easy to harvest for the farmer and easy to grow. So this became very popular in Fukushima Prefecture. But it still have some disadvantage. Yumenoka and 500 mango. In the Fukushima Prefecture, they prefer to use 500 mango, GOM, which has the second largest share as a sake production, for sake production. So they continue to develop new rice variety just more than 10 years. And finally, 4 years ago, they put another new variety called Fukunoka on the market. This was made by breeding of two rice variety, Homare Fuji, Dewa no Sato. So these are two rice variety. These are parent of Fukunoka. Breeding was performed in year of 2004. So it took 15 years to make new rice variety called Fukunoka. It took a long time to make a new variety. So this shows the history. Sorry, this is the 2004. This means breeding. So they cross two variety called Homare Fuji and Dewa no Sato. They breed in year of 2004, these two. And they evaluated by spending 14 years. Now this is a number. So they had 3,120 individuals of rice by crossing Homare Fuji and Dewa no Sato. And they selected 13 out of 3,120 in year of, I think, 2008. So every year they collected the seed from individuals and they keep and evaluated. And finally they selected 2 out of 13. So they continue to evaluate 13 and they selected two, year of, I think year of 2018. So it means, they selected two out of 3,120 progeny of Homo refugee and Dewa no Sato as a parent. And finally, they had confidence to put new variety on the market. So they had confidence, and they are ready to send their seed to farmer. So this shows the brief history of this new variety. And this is a Fuku no Ka. And this is a 500万石 GOM with the second largest share as a sake rice. And Fuku no Ka, new variety, what they obtain has can make clear sake without any unpleasant taste. And the good thing is a strong disease resistance this has, and cold resistance this strain has, variety has, but not easy to fall down. So this is another important character Fukunoka has. So for the farmer, it is very easy to harvest even after the windstorm. So we will take a look at some data what they obtain, local government obtain during the evaluation in 14 or 15 years. This shows the cross-sectional shape of Shinpaku. So as I told you earlier that people prefer to use rice with some morphological character of Shinpaku. So line shape of Shinpaku or ellipsoidal shape of Shinpaku, easy to use. This rice grain with this type of character can be resistant against the polishing. So maybe these are good character in terms of morphology of Shinpaku. And as I told you earlier, rice with this type of Shinpaku, white core, it will easily be decomposed by polishing. So you can take a look at the number. Fukunoka, FKK. So this is the newly developed rice variety. And they compare the number obtained from 500万石 with the second largest share as a sake rice, or Yumenoka. This is a rice variety they have developed and the farmer produced sake since year of 2000. So when we compare this number, lined Shinpaku 500万石 has more this type of rice grain, middle, and ellipsoidal. So Fukunoka has, more rice grain like this. It should be okay. And by combining this number, these are, good number, 20, 30, 70, about 80% of rice grain of Fukunoka, newly developed rice variety, will be acceptable. 500万石 with the second largest share as the sake rice, 30. About 40% of rice grain of 500万石 will be acceptable. So, Fukuoka showed better performance than 500万石. And Yumenoka, this was developed by year of 2000 by Fukushima Prefecture. 36, about less than 40% will be acceptable. So, in terms of the cross-sectional shape of Shinpaku, Fukuoka showed better performance against the 500万石 and Yumenoka. And this is not very good. Rice will be easily decomposed. Grain will be easily decomposed by polishing. This is why 500万石 people cannot make smaller size of rice grain. As I told you earlier, maybe 59% rice grain we can make by using 500万石. But we cannot make 50%, 40%, 30% of polishing rate of rice grain by using 500万石 because of this number. So 500万石 has about 1/3 of the rice grain of 500万石 has this character of Shinpaku, white core area. This is because we cannot make smaller size of rice grain of 500万石 what we can make easily by using Yamada Nishiki YMO with the largest share of sake rice. And when we look at this number, Fukuoka, which does not have much, this shape, less than 20% of Fukuoka has this. So this means Fukuoka showed better performance against 500万石 as well as Yumenoka. So Yumenoka has about 50% of rice grain of Yumenoka has this type of character. So Yumenoka, we cannot make smaller size of rice grain by polishing. So this is very promising. Fukuoka showed better performance, not only against the Yumenoka developed by Fukushima Prefecture area, year of 2000. Not only Yumenoka, but also Fukuoka showed better performance against the 500万石 GOM. So this is one type of evaluation, item for evaluation. %50 polishing rate. What is this? So, this shows the cracking rate. When we polish to make 50% of rice grain, so this smaller number will be better. And this is the average in 7 years. 500万石 Yumenoka. This is the rice variety. They developed earlier in year of 2000. Both about 10% will be cracked when we try to make 50% of small size of rice grain. Sorry, this is Fukuoka. Fukuoka is about 8%. So again, Fukuoka showed better performance compared with 500万石 and Yumenoka. And once they obtain some candidate, we need to, the most important thing is the character of sake. So sensory evaluation. So they make small scale test brewing by using 福の花、500万石 and 夢の花。And about the same level of data, level of result obtained by sensory evaluation by people, about the same level. Bricks level of sugar by using aspergillus oryzae. So by saccharification, level of sugar about the same. FN, I memorize. Nitrogen content of amino acid and peptide about the same. So this can be used for making sake. They have now confidence. And they scale up. They scale up the brewing size, sake meter value. This shows the sweetness or dryness of sake. I can explain this number later. When this number is small, means sake are little sweet, not very dry. 福の花 and 山田錦. So they make sake by performing mid-size brewing in year 2015, 2016 by using 福の花 or 山田錦. So this is the new variety, what they obtained by breeding with two rice variety, Yamada Nishiki. And this is a typical item. People evaluate sake. Sake meter value, dryness or sweetness, acidity, amino acid amount, reduced amount of reduced sugar, and alcohol level. 60%, 16%, about the same. And isoamyl acetate and ethyl caprate. So usually people, these days people measure the amount of isoamyl acetate, which has the aroma from banana plant. And ethyl caprate, this is aroma of apple. So in general, wine also has the aroma of isoamyl acetate and the aroma of ethyl caprate. So this is usually people measure the amount of both chemicals in sake. And level of these chemicals is about the same of sake found in sake produced by Yamada Nishiki. Date of fermentation. So usually it takes about 30 days to complete fermentation. About, I think, low temperature, about 10 degrees Celsius. Water ratio, addition of water, and sensory evaluation from 1 to 5 scale. So these are typical items to evaluate quality of sake. And they have confidence to use newly developed Fukunoka rice variety. So this is another good thing of Fukunoka. Compare with 500万石 and Yume no Ka. This was developed by year of 2000 by Fukushima Prefecture. Level of fall down should be low. In fact, so when we had windstorm, rice tend to be falling down, and it's not easy. It will make problem for farmer to harvest. Usually they use the machine equipment to harvest rice grain, and once rice fall down, and we cannot use equipment machine to harvest. And so this data shows Fukunoka. So this number shows the ratio of 6 kilogram fertilizer per 10 acre. And this is second number shows the number of amount of fertilizer in the second addition. So usually the people, the farmer, fertilize the rice plant twice a year, 6 and 0, or 5 and 2, 7 kilogram and 2 kilogram. And they compare the level of falling down of rice plant. And they optimize the condition to grow Fukunoka by inhibiting falling down of rice plant. And they found that 6 kilogram, so only one time addition of fertilizer, 6 kilogram, showed the better, best performance to grow, to keep Fukunoka standard. So they stick with this condition. 500万石 tend to be falling down very much compared with Yumenoka or Fukunoka. Not easy to be harvested of 500万石 in Fukushima area. So they optimize the condition and they decided the program for fertilization, 6 kilogram once a year. So this is another evaluation, item for evaluation. And finally they the year of, I think, 2019, they provide the seed of Fukunoka to the farmer. And now they are making sake. Some brewery is utilizing this newly developed variety in Fukushima Prefecture. The share of this grain probably still not much, maybe in this category, but still, and I had the feedback about the texture or taste of sake from some brewery in Fukushima Prefecture, and they are positive to use this variety. So they try to make more, they try to make more sake by using Yumenoka. So most of local government try to develop their own unique rice variety. And I just introduced by one example. called Yumenoka rice variety, developed by Fukushima Prefecture. And I hope you learned some characters, how people try to develop, and what is the character farmer and brewery need to have to make sake, what they want to make. So what they want to make is the character of this is isoamyl acetate, ethyl caprolate. So these days, more people expect or like sake with aroma of isoamyl acetate and ethyl caprolate. So this is the character ginjo sake, or dai ginjo sake has more. Some people want to expect traditional sake, but more people, especially in overseas, want to have character from isoamyl acetate and ethyl caprolate from sake. So this will be discussed later in the session of East strain later. But I will stop to discuss about rice as a raw materials for sake production. So I will switch the new slide to discuss about fungi, koji fungi. Window. I hope you can take a look at the slide to discuss about the fungi. Oh, I forget to. I don't think we have any sounds. Should be okay. So these are food. People use fungi to make sake, koji, asparagus origin, or relatives of fungi people use to make sake, rice vinegar, and miso is a bean paste, like a miso soup, to make miso soup. And the shochu, this is a distilled sake, distilled alcohol beverage produced by sake. Amazake, this is a sweet sake, cloudy, it looks cloudy. And the mirin, some of you may have the word of mirin. Soy sauce, fish sauce, pickles. So all the food people use fungi. So we will discuss some about the fungi in this session. Miso, this is a bean paste. Soybean will be made by using asparagus origin with high protease activity. When we make sake, we also use asparagus origin. This is the taxonomy of fungi. But for making sake, we use this fungi with more activity of galactosidase. But for making miso, because soybean has more protein, so people use fungi with more activity of protease. So the strain slightly different people use to make bean paste than sake. Soy sauce, also people use Aspergillus fungi. Name of species is different. Aspergillus soya is a name of taxonomy to make soy sauce by using roasted wheat with soybean. And this fungi has, again, high protease activity because soybean has large amount of protein. So we need to use Aspergillus fungi with more activity of protease. Shochu, this is the distilled sake produced by rice, and people use different Aspergillus fungi. Aspergillus lutuensis, mutant of Kawachi. So it produces more citric acid, citrate. So taste more acidic. It means, we do not have to much worry about the contamination when we make brewing. So southern part of Japan, the temperature very high compared with northern part of Japan, like Hokkaido. So they always have problem by the spoilage, by contamination. But when they use this type of, this strain species of Aspergillus, and it produces, citrate, pH goes down, just like lactate play an important role to prevent spoilage. So people in southern part of Japan use this type of Aspergillus, and they like to make distilled sake very much. So this showed how fungi grow on the surface or inside of the rice grain. Day 0, steamed rice grain. So it was polished, so small size of rice grain will be steamed and spread the spore of fungi. As you saw the slide movie last week, people inoculate the spore on the surface of steamed rice. And day 1, you can see the growth, the fungi grow on the surface. Day 2, fungi grow more, and the size of rice grain getting small because the fungi absorb the water from the inside of the rice grain, steamed rice grain. So the size of rice will be small and it will be dried by the growth of fungi. Usually day 1 or day 2 or day 3, and this is a koji rice. We call koji rice, and we can use it to make sake. So it takes 2 days or 3 days to make koji rice when we inoculate the spore of koji fungi or Aspergillus oryzae on the steamed rice. So this shows that major two style of koji. One is called sohaze koji. This shows the section, photo of dissected koji rice. This shows the surface of the koji rice. And another style of koji is called tsukihaze koji. Tsukihaze versus sohaze. Again, the surface or section, photo of section of rice of koji. You can see the sohaze koji, the fungi grow on the surface in entire surface of rice. Koji fungi grow. And when we look at the section, and it grow inside of the rice grain evenly. On the other hand, tsukihaze koji, koji fungi grow, spotted pattern, shows spotted pattern, not entire area, just like sohaze. And also inside, so tsukihaze koji grow unevenly. Because these are different between sohaze koji and tsukihaze koji. It means the activity of two enzymes, interestingly, are different. I will explain later, but tsukihaze koji in general, G amylase activity is more than alpha amylase activity. So we have two major activity we expect from koji rice because of the aspergillus origin, G amylase and alpha amylase. And sohaze koji has more alpha amylase activity than G amylase activity. So it means this sohaze koji is good for making futsushu or jozoshu by using relatively large size of rice grain, 70% or maybe 80% of polishing rate. Rice will be utilized to make jozoshu, not ginjoshu. On the other hand, if we use smaller size of rice grain, like less than 50%, when we want to make daiginjo sake with more aroma, and this koji rice is good. It because G amylase activity is more than alpha amylase activity. So for making futsushu or jozoshu with large size of rice grain, this koji rice is good. On the other hand, if we want to make sake with more aroma, and tsukihaze koji is better. This shows the two amylase activity, alpha versus G. Alpha versus G. Alpha versus G. So this is the case of fungi grown on the surface of rice or in the liquid culture. When we grow the fungi in the liquid media, GLAA gene encode for GLAA enzyme will be expressed. It digests starch to make maltose. This is alpha amylase. This is a G amylase I explained earlier. Alpha amylase versus G amylase. So Koji fungi, Aspergillus oryzae had at least two genes encode for two different enzymes. This is alpha amylase. This is a G amylase. When we grow Aspergillus oryzae on the surface of steamed rice, and we have more activity of G amylase, or another word, alpha glucosidase. It is confusing. Alpha glucosidase is called also G amylase. So when we grow Aspergillus oryzae on the surface of steamed rice, GLAB gene will be expressed more than GLAA. So this gene encodes for G amylase. This gene encodes for alpha amylase. G amylase digests maltose to glucose. And glucose will be utilized by yeast. So this is the difference, two enzymes found in Aspergillus oryzae, or alpha glucosidase, or G amylase. So these are different. So that is why, when we inoculate fungi grown in the liquid culture, it will not be help efficiently to support the growth of yeast, because yeast can utilize glucose. So we need to have more glucose than maltose. So this koji rice, it means Aspergillus oryzae grown on the surface of steamed rice, will help yeast to support, to grow yeast, or to produce ethanol from glucose. So this shows the comparison of the activity. Alpha amylase versus G amylase. When we make liquid media to grow Aspergillus oryzae, it has more activity of alpha amylase than G amylase. Again, alpha amylase will make maltose, but alpha amylase will not make glucose. On the other hand, G amylase can make glucose from maltose. On the plate culture, by using plate culture, the Aspergillus oryzae grown on plate culture by using agar, again produce more alpha amylase than G amylase. But when we grow Aspergillus oryzae fungi on the surface of steamed rice, and we have more activity of G amylase, it's very high, more than 4,000 than the activity of alpha amylase. So we need both enzyme activity. But for some reason, Aspergillus oryzae with more G amylase, which support the making ginjo or daiginjo sake, especially this tsukihaze koji support to produce ginjo or daiginjo sake due to the difference of balance of enzyme activity of alpha amylase or G amylase. So this shows the time after inoculation of spore on the steamed rice to make koji rice. 1 day, about 2 days. So this axis shows the temperature of rice, steamed rice, with spore of koji fungi or Aspergillus oryzae. The temperature goes up by the respiration of Aspergillus oryzae. So eventually 42 degrees Celsius is the target temperature. So this is the temperature that people expect to reach by making koji rice. So 42 degrees Celsius, we have 50% maltose. And this is good to support the expression of GLAB or G amylase enzyme expression. So 42 is a target temperature. So this is the curve. Low temperature, high flower growth will be inhibited, and the high temperature and temperature goes up, and the steamed rice will lose some water, and re-stirring, piling up. So these are, people stir 6 or 7 hours later after inoculation, 18 or 90 hours later after inoculation. They take care of growth of koji fungi. So let's see. I think we take a look at this slide last week. So, sorry.
The rice.
So we can take a look at the koji.
The most important of these is making koji.
Day 1.
Steamed rice is carried into a special room, the kojimuro, where temperature and humidity are kept high.
These are steamed rice. So we need
Koji mold spores are sprinkled onto the spread out rice.
This is the inoculation of the spore of Aspergillus oryzae.
The rice is wrapped up in cloth and allowed to sit for a full day to let the mold propagate thoroughly.
Day 2.
The next morning, the clumps are gently broken up and divided evenly into special wooden trays called kojibuta.
And you can listen to the sound. So water will be released, and we have now dried rice
The rice is thoroughly mixed to ensure that the mold will propagate uniformly across all the rice.
So this is the stirring.
The work performed inside the Kojimuro calls for great focus, concentration, and patience. After 3 days of this careful attention, at last, the koji is ready.
So this is just like movie showing how to make koji. So you may find that this stirring or piling up. So they try to control the increase of temperature or control the aeration by taking care of this process. So koji rice. Koji rice is a dried steamed rice with the growth of asparagus oryzae has now enzyme activity of these. So these are major enzymes that we need to use for making sake. So koji rice provide these enzyme activity to make sake. So I will explain this in next week. Like this is a G amylase, alpha amylase I explained earlier. And trans-glucosidase activity. These are, glucosidase activity. And also we need to know about the activity of protease. This is the protease activity. And the lipase is another activity. So we can explain, we can take a look at this later in next week. And asparagus oryzae is this type of fungi grown on the surface of steamed rice. And as I told you earlier, shochu, distilled sake. Distilled sake in Okinawa, southern part of Japan, usually use Asparagus lucensis. So it has a black color. So this is called black fungi, black koji. So usually we use yellow fungi. It's called Asparagus oryzae for making sake. For making distilled sake, people use this type of asparagus. It produces more citrate, acidic chemical compound, and it prevents the contamination of or spoilage of sake. And this is a mutant obtained from this black koji or black fungi. Asparagus lucensis mutanto kawachi. Kawachi is the name of scientist who found this color mutant of black Asparagus lucensis. So people use, both asparagus for making distilled sake. But these days, some company, like these two products provided by or made by two different companies, they use black koji fungi or color mutant of black koji fungi. So I contacted them, and they tried to send me information about the character of sake, like this is produced by black koji fungi, or another company make junmai sake made by these koji fungi. Both supposed to be the high level of citrate, some acidic taste. So hopefully I will explain some character or taste of this sake by using different strain or different species of Aspergillus origin or Aspergillus sometime in next week. And I will continue to take a look at some enzyme activity of koji rice. And I will try to continue to discuss about the yeast strain people use. And it is it makes the sake has aroma of caprolate or amino acetate. So see, we will discuss about it in next week. So Kenny, can I stop at this slide? And I will send some quiz to you sometime in next week.
Okay, Professor.
Okay,
Thank you, Professor, for this session.
you're welcome.
See you next week.
Okay, see you next week.